up, Paranormal Army? Today's story is going to be about the Nahanni Valley. The Nahanni Valley is in the Northwest Territories of Canada. Super remote. It's over 11,600 square miles big, 4 times bigger than Germany, and super secluded. No one lives there. No one hardly ever goes there. But the reason I want to tell you guys this story is because of the weird things around the valley itself. So if you guys have not liked and subscribed, go ahead and do so and hit that bell in order to listen to new stories coming out and never miss one. Hey, what's up, Paranormal Army? So our video today is about the Nahanni Valley, but it's about the strangeness of the valley and where it got its namesake, the Headless Valley. So let's jump right into it, guys. Alright, so where I'm going to start the story, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the valley itself. So the Nahanni Valley is notorious and has a bunch of stories around it about things being in the forest. The Indians stated to a rescue group that went in to find the bodies of more missing people. And they stated, hey, you guys might want to get out of here. There's things in the forest called wahilas, they thought they were, which is basically giant white dogs, basically. But we don't know for sure what happened to these guys or what did it to them. We still don't know, but there hasn't been any more cases like this. Well, my reasoning for that, no one goes there. They stay away from it. Alright guys, let's jump right into it. Alright, 3 brothers, Willie, Frank, and Charlie McLeod, decide to set into the Nahanni Valley of rumors of being gold in the Flat River. And so they make their way up in, long, treacherous, hard journey in. So they finally get to the river called the Flat River, part of, I think, First Canyon. It dumps you into the Flat River. Second Canyon dumps you into Flat River. And so they're right there next to a little opening next to the, right there, boom, right to the bank. And so they were camping out there, and then they found a bunch of gold, they stated, and then made their way back down. They capsized, their boat broke apart, they lost all their gear, and so they're like, wow, this is a really close call. So they went back to their original spot, didn't find really anything, didn't have any luck like they did before, so they built a boat out of the fallen trees and left the valley. 3 months later, Willie and Frank decided, hey, let's go back to the valley, go talk to their brother Charlie. And Charlie, like, because of our close call, no, I don't want to go, I'm sorry. And with them knowing there's a lot of gold in the valley, they decided to take a Scottish engineer named Robert Weir with them on this trip. And so they make their journey all the way up to the Flat River, all the way up to Flat River, sorry. It's super calm. It's really, really interesting canyon, actually, because before you hit into the Flat River, it's all secluded, really high walls, huge, deep canyons. It's basically its version of the Grand Canyon. So to give you kind of a perspective on the remoteness of this area, is it's 4 times bigger than Germany. Germany has a lot of people, we all know that. And it's 4 times bigger with basically no one in it. Some of the Northwest Territories do have people in them, but they never traveled to the Nahanni Valley because of the weird legends around it. But the three brothers went up originally, found gold. So the second group, the 2 brothers and Robert Weir, decided to go up into the canyon and try their luck. So they make their journey up into the canyon. And a super treacherous, hard journey. They finally get into Second Canyon, and they're going through Second Canyon where the rapids are the worst, the winds are the worst, super high canyons, 1,500 feet deep water. And so it's super ominous, littered with cave sides. But you can't explore the caves, they're so far up. They're super hard to get to. You have to be a professional rock climber to get to 80% of them. And so, you know, they don't, but they still feel they're being watched the whole time through the valley. And then once you get around what they call Big Bend into Flat River, it dumps you into Flat River. And so they're right there going around there, find a good little camp spot. They pull all their stuff out. They go over there. They start prospecting and getting ready. And then they're not heard from for almost 4 years. Because Charlie decided to go in and actually look for them, draw a group of people in with them. But before that, I got to tell you a little bit about what Charlie was thinking, and that's why it took them 4 years to find their bodies. Roughly 4 years, don't quote me. So basically, Charlie, you know, he figured, hey, Willie and Frank are super experienced with this type of stuff, with rivers, water, gold, everything, you know. So he figured, okay, maybe they were striking it rich, and they decided to stay there long term, through the summer, maybe to the next year. And so he didn't concern it, shrugged it off. Okay, another year passes. And so he's like, okay, they're still not back yet, but they are experienced. and so maybe they're still finding gold. So he shrugged it off. Then a couple years went by. He didn't hear from them, no news, nothing. So he's like, okay, I need to go in and see actually what happened to them. And so him and his group go into there, make the long, treacherous journey into the into the Nahanni Valley to the Flat River. Eventually, around hundreds of miles in, about 250 miles in, they finally get to the Big Bend, and they find their campsite. Okay, guys, so this campsite's pretty disturbing, so I do want to mention that to you. But it's a really interesting one. And so they make it to the campsite. They start looking around, you know, and they notice the first body right away. As soon as they step foot, they're like, uh-oh. So they walk over to it, they look at him, he's reaching for a gun that's perched on a tree, you know, just laying there, he's reaching for a gun, and then that's not the weird part. The weird part is he had no head. And so my thinking is, what scared him so bad to make him reach for a gun, and what ultimately took his head? That's weird, no sign of it. Alright, and so that's strange, right? But the second body they find, which would actually be identified as Frank, so they go to him. He's in a tent, butted up against the trees, and he's hanging halfway out of the tent, covered in a blanket or a sleeping bag, is what would actually probably what it would have been. And so they removed the sleeping bag. Him too had no head, and so they're just kind of shocked by this whole ordeal. What the heck happened here? And so they call in authorities. A big, massive search eventually launched. Robert's rear body was never officially found, but they did find a partial skeleton remaining a couple miles down the river that did have attributes to Robert Weir. And so it's not stated that it's his remains, but I do believe it was his remains. But they never found any of the heads, nothing like that. But that's not the only strange incidents that they found here in the Nahanni Valley. A couple years later, another backpacker, or he's a hiker, I do believe, went in, and then he was eventually found laying across a trail in a sleeping bag with no head. Never knew what happened to him. Never really had much evidence about it. Never could find the head. So okay, and then boom, that started making people want to stay away from the valley, and which named it the Headless Valley. And so they kind of stayed away for a while, and only a select brave few actually went into the Nahanni Valley. A select few did go in, successfully get out without no gold. But so, a couple years later, someone else goes in there and actually sets up a cabin in there. He actually builds a cabin. A couple years later, someone goes in, just a tourist or something, you know, just want to check out the area. Finds his cabin burnt clear to the ground. Just ash. And in the amongst of those ashes was another body, badly decomposed, badly burnt, just like the two brothers, Frank and Willie, with also no head. And so the strangest of the valley just grows and grows. They're like, what the heck's going on? And so a couple years later, they find another cabin burnt to the ground. But I don't think they couldn't find a body. I couldn't find it on the internet. But if you guys do, please actually post it in my comments, and even the name of the dude that was laying in the trail, because I know they have a name there, but I couldn't remember it. So if you do find that one, please link it in the comments below. But the weirdness of the valley started growing. The last search party to ever go into the valley was camping out next to the river, and a group of Indians come in, and they're talking to them, and they're struck a conversation with them, and then are like, hey, you guys might want to get out of here. There's things in the forest, white creatures that are taking people. And then the group start looking at each other like, what? Taking people? What do you mean? They're like, white creatures, white things in the forest that are taking people. And they describe to them as being giant dogs, what they refer to as wahilas. But if this is what you guys could think are taking people, let me know. I believe they're wendigos that are taking people, white creatures that take people all the time. They're super fast, can't see them. They're very smart, intelligent, and they're cannibals, basically. That's what I think they are, but it may not be. But I do want to tell you, I did find a picture on the internet. I was going through when I was doing research. I did find a picture of a cave someone took. In the middle of the cave, there's like deer, and you can clearly make out the deer, but behind the deer, really brightly, it's super hard to see. I did enhance it so you guys can see them and zoomed in. But it looks like there's two humanoid figures, one bigger, one smaller. And so if you guys think this is what could be taking people, let me know. If you guys think they're deer, which I kind of do too, let me know. And I'll post that, guys, right now, up there. Alright, guys. After you see this photo, let me know what you think. Alright, guys, make sure you like and subscribe. Goodbye.